Game of Thrones Season 8 inches closer and closer day by day. It's about 4 months away, and before you know it, we're gonna have that massive trailer that will literally break the fucking internet. In this video, I'm gonna bring to you guys a newly released preview of the up-and-coming season brought to us by TV Guide. Now, there's not too much information that's shared with us, but we do get this brand new picture of Jon Snow and also a little bit of teaser to help get us through this long night. As always, here's your spoiler warning. Before we get started, please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 420. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and this is the most important part. Make sure you have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. Now, the article itself only contains the new image of Jon Snow, which is him on the cover, and it hasn't actually hit shelves yet. You have to sort of be a membership to TV Guide in order to get this issue early. It's not scheduled to be on newsstands until about another 2 weeks. So, the article goes into breaking down several, key moments next season, and I'm going to talk about those here in a second, but the main one is a potential conflict between Jon Snow and Daenerys. Now, you're probably like, hold up, wait a second. Didn't these two just smash at the end of last season? Why would we get any sort of conflict from them? Pretty sure this consummation was pretty fucking magical as we felt it on screen, so the two of them next season shouldn't really be fighting over anything, and if they do start fighting, well, then just go have sex and make up. Now, this is a quote what the fuck word was that? This is a quote taken directly from the article. From a dramatic standpoint, it makes things interesting because the story is no longer about who Jon's parents are and is more so become about what happens when Jon finds out who his parents are. Now, that was actually a quote from Mr. Weiss, who is one of the tag team duo executive producers, basically the guys responsible for bringing this amazing novel to the television. Now, the article actually goes on further, and I think it's really just trying to hammer on two things, one being a conflict between Jon and Daenerys, and the other one being a little bit of uncertainty for what's going to happen when the Night King finally heads to Westeros. But the article, sort of summarizing this point, goes into when the truth is revealed, Jon will need to keep his head in the game. And because this is thrones, also his body. The future of the kingdom depends on it. A united Jon and Dany have smarts, soldiers, a stockpile of dragonglass, and we all know that's the one thing that can kill the dead. But if they're divided, they are two stubborn leaders at odds. With skeleton soldiers heading their way, there's no time. Wait, I sounded like Miss Cleo. Call me now for your free tarot reading. But anyway, it just mentions that there's no time for these two to quarrel. Now, I will say that the writer of this article is hamming everything up to level 10. Because it goes on to mention when Jon finds out, about this news, will he react like the cool-headed leader back in season 4 who defended the wall from, an invading army of wildlings? And it does mention mammoths and giants, almost as if they're trying to tease the fact that we'll get to see mammoths in Game of Thrones Season 8. And we already saw those undead whites at the very beginning of Season 7, so it is not out of question at all for the Night King to have a stockpile of mammoths and giant corpses at his disposal. Me personally, I kind of want to see him ride in on a giant ice spider. Getting back on track here. Now, in this article, Kit Harington is quoted as saying, Jon Snow is someone who plays by the books. He cannot lie. Finding out about Dany would be very hard for him. Then we have another bombshell quote from Emilia Clarke, and she's quoted as saying, Daenerys' lifelong dream has been to avenge her family and claim her rightful seat on the Iron Throne. She truly loves Jon. This is the most important part. Were she to find out about his title, it would cut deep. So what do we take away from those two quotes? Well, from Kit's quote, it sounds like Jon Snow for sure finds out about his lineage next season. Now, of course, there's always the off chance possibility that he doesn't find out, and in my opinion, this would be the best way to handle it, because if you think about it, he hasn't known who the hell he was for this entire time, and look at where he's gotten himself. He's basically number 2 in the kingdom. Daenerys is number 1, not only in my books, but also she has the most power in the television series. She's got the strongest army, and she's got 2 healthy live dragons that are ready to burn shit at her slightest whim, and Jon has maneuvered himself into a position of power to be her number 2, and he's also her lover. All of this without finding out about his true lineage, that he's not some northern bastard who's basically been treated like dog shit his whole life, so he decided to take things into his own hand and turn everything around. Every sort of aspect of his character has all been self-made. Yeah, he's been given a little bit of help, but for the most part, he's helped himself, and then others have seen this, and they've decided to help. The main thing you have to focus on, Kit Harington's quote from this piece from TV Guide, is that he said, Jon Snow finds out. And then with Emilia Clarke, she said if. Now obviously these are paid liars. They get paid to lie all the time, but you can somewhat take their words and sort of formulate what may actually go down. And if we were to do that, it sounds like Jon Snow does find out his lineage. He's probably told this as soon as he arrives to Winterfell by Bran and Sam. Remember, they confirmed this on the very last episode. But one thing we also have to take into consideration is the fact that Mr. Weiss mentioned how the game went from who are Jon Snow's parents to when will Jon Snow and if Jon Snow will find out about his parents. So if that's a game, and it's very similar to in the books, because a lot of things that people will tell you is confirmed and 100% they read this in the novel. It's all, for the most part, a lot of major mysteries in A Song of Ice and Fire are just that, mysteries. Everything's sort of left up in the air and open to interpretation. For example, a lot of people feel like Rhaegar and Lyanna being Jon Snow's parents are 100% confirmed in the books, but you also have people who have theories about how, no, it's not confirmed, and it's secretly this person, and that person's a secret Targaryen, so this is really Jon Snow's lineage. All of that aside, me personally, I would be 100% okay with if Jon Snow never found out about his lineage, if Daenerys never really found out about his lineage, if the only two people that know about Jon Snow's lineage are the only two people that really would be able to hold that secret down, that being Sam and Bran. These two characters are crucial to the end game. Bran is the one who's going to be aiding everyone because he can see the future, so he's going to pretty much be the battle commander and letting everyone know what they should be doing. And then you have Sam, who's arguably the narrator of the story, who's going to record all of these great deeds, and he just may be the person who's telling the story in the end. So if the two of them put their minds together and realize that if Jon Snow finds out his lineage, it may cause him to want to break off the relationship with Daenerys. If you have the two of them fractured when defeating the Night King or when facing off against the Night King, their success is going to be a lot less than it would be if they were still together and didn't have some sort of conflict between them. In my opinion, this would be the smartest thing for Bran and Sam, is to basically keep it to themselves and not share this information with Jon until either after the Night King is defeated or either never. Just don't tell him at all and allow Jon to finally have some sort of semblance of happiness in his life. Let him bang his aunt, dude. And when we get to Emilia Clarke's quote where she mentions how if Dany were to find out, that would cut deep, I do want to talk about the cutting deep part for a second by sharing this supposedly leaked image from Game of Thrones Season 8 from the filming process. But the part about if Daenerys were to find out got me intrigued. Now, about 3 months back, I covered a leak on this channel that was basically discussing more or less what would be the cause of Tyrion's betrayal, which is going to be one of the major thematic plot points next season. Now, in that leak, it mentions how the main start of Tyrion's betrayal is that he finds out about this information of Jon's true lineage. He is told by Varys, who apparently has spies in Winterfell, and they find out the information at the same point as Jon and Bran. And then as soon as Tyrion, Daenerys, and Jon Snow arrive at Winterfell, early on next season, most likely in the first episode, Tyrion is pulled aside by Varys and is shared this information about Jon's true lineage. The two of them have a quick conversation, and Varys and Tyrion decide that the best option would be to let Daenerys know so that they don't get blamed for some sort of betrayal, and they both end up getting killed. Now, I don't want to spend too much time discussing that because it is a leak, which most likely means it's a load of horseshit, but that does propose something interesting. What if Tyrion, who is confirmed to be in love with Daenerys, what if his love makes him act outside of his normal self? Now, we do know that Tyrion in the novels is very manipulative and very cunning. He's more so been laid out the path that he will eventually maybe one day betray Daenerys, not so much on the television show. So if they want to show that there's that possibility of a betrayal early on, they need to show that Tyrion is still his good old conniving self from the earlier seasons. Maybe this scene will go down in a similar way. Maybe not with Varys finding out and then telling Tyrion. Maybe somehow Tyrion finds out directly and just immediately wants to go and tell Daenerys. Not necessarily thinking that it would break her heart, but more so him being selfish and realizing that it would drive a wedge between Jon and Daenerys. You guys let me know down below whether you think there's a possibility that that fleek may be correct and Tyrion finds out about Jon's lineage and delivers the news to Daenerys and hopes to break them up. Let me know down below. And then the last sort of little thing that the article touches on is, like I mentioned, that quote from Daenerys about how, it would cut deep, but also it mentions how if the Lannisters were to split, it is sure to crack the existing power structure into pieces. The conniving, greedy Lannisters have been at odds with the honorable Starks since season 1, but the Lannister family has a black sheep. Clever dwarf Tyrion is now Dany's top advisor. who knows what could happen in the final season. But Peter Dinklage is quoted as saying, Tyrion loves Jaime and trusts his moral code. Tyrion tries to keep Jaime at a distance from Cersei, but because Jaime is a different person around her. In my opinion, that little quote from Dinklage is sort of just teasing a reunion between him and Jaime next season. I think it's going to be interesting to see two Targaryens working in line with two Lannisters, also working with three Starks. I think it's going to be an amazing Game of Thrones Season 8. Alright, with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for watching. The like goal for this video is going to be 420. Please slap a like on this. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then make sure every notification turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. I want to thank you all so much for watching. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's super special shout out to my Patreons. Reviews.